Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast. And we have a returning guest who is appearing for the third time. First back in 2021, and then again in 2022. So hasn't been on the show for 3 years. So those episodes were 138 and 266. So I do encourage you to go back and listen to those episodes. Tony Reda is the founder and president and CEO of Tectonic Metals, who are a mineral exploration company focused on the acquisition, exploration, discovery, and development of mineral resources from a district scale projects to in political stable jurisdictions, and that have the potential to host world-class ore bodies across North America. Tony's been in mining for over 20 years in investor relations and corporate development before taking the helm back in 2018. And he's going to share his journey, give us an update on the company, their key partnerships, and their broader milestones and strategies for the company they are looking to execute over the coming years. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Hawcroft, who are leaders in property risk management in the mining industry since 1992. They offer insurance risk surveys, construction risk reviews, asset criticality assessments, and more. Working across 600 sites globally, Hawcroft supports all areas of mining, resources, and minerals. So if you're looking for any property and insurance risk management services, then please visit their website at www.hawcroft.com. All the details are in our show notes. Tony, welcome back to the podcast. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's been 3 years since we last recorded an episode. Hopefully, we've still got some of those listeners who are listening back then. I'm sure we have. So, I wanted to just tell us a little bit about your career, about your background. As I mentioned, you were in corp dev and IR. So just wanted to give the audience a flavour of your career.
For sure. I mean, my first encounter with mining was at the age of 21. That was 1995. And for better or worse, I just decided to buy my first ever mining stock. I did get the bug and actually made a bit of money. So I was 21 investing in stocks and basically over leveraged myself to the point where this mining scandal, probably not just actually a mining scandal, but one of the largest scandals on the TSX, was a company called Brex, and it was a farce, if you will, to put it in succinct terms. And so the stock cratered from, it hit a high of $400 and it went all the way back down. And it really was the catalyst for this compliant regulation called NI 43-101. But the point is, I wrote off the mining space, took a serious loss and sold all my stocks in 1999. Gold also bottomed in 2000 and I walked away. And it wasn't until 2005 where I decided to come back into the mining space, but this time on the corporate side of things. And my goal at that time was to get involved with a company that actually was doing real exploration founded or backed by scientists, geoscientists. And I started in 2005 with a private company called Kaminak Gold Corporation. I was the second hire. They hired the CEO. They hired me as IR. And then I gravitated to vice president of corporate development. And in essence, we took this company that was a prospect generator, probably at a $3 million market capitalization in 2005, and ended up delineating 5 million ounces of gold. We raised 165 million and ended up selling the asset to Goldcorp, now Newmont, for 520 million. That's a bit of there's a lot of down periods, but that's kind of the highlights in that career. I would say also what people forget in our space is very cyclical, and the highlights or the strength of a team is its ability to create value in tough times. For in our case, it was 2008, 2013 as well. So it's not just the home run sort of hit back in 2016. That experience and also my earlier investment experience sort of encouraged me or inspired me to really start pushing the envelope on what potentially could be done differently in the mining space, more specifically the exploration space. And is there a better way to explore? And I don't profess that we have all the answers, but it starts with the questions. And that one of those questions were, can we partner up with local communities, First Nation or Indigenous groups at the onset? Can we form impact benefit agreements or socioeconomic agreements, which are traditionally negotiated with First Nations and local communities at the feasibility stage, sometimes year 5, year 10? Can we do that on day one? And so these were some of the sort of foundational transformative initiatives that we took on with Tectonic Metals. And to that point, we are partnered up with one of Alaska's largest leading native regional corporations. And in addition to having full-scale production slash impact benefit agreements on all our assets, we also have Indigenous support vis-a-vis strategic investments made by the native corporation. And they've invested over $4 million supporting our efforts to explore on their land. And so whether or not we do sort of high profile corporate meeting or meeting with government, or we submit our permit applications, we are doing it in tandem and in partnership with the native corporation. And it really speaks to our commitment. If we're here to find a mine, our actions need to reflect that, and we need to solve this sort of piece of the puzzle as quickly as possible to de-risk this project and our initiatives. So that's a bit about my background and the genesis of Tectonic Metals. I'm one of several founders, for perfect clarity. The CEO of Kaminak is also with me on this in this endeavor with Tectonic. And we think we have found, let's just say, the next Kaminak. We have a project that we're extremely excited about, and it meets the criteria of what we think could make a mine.
Before we speak about Tectonic, how does, and this is more about your career, how does going from IR corporate development role that you played early in your career has helped you in a CEO capacity? What sort of skills and experience have you brought from there to help you in becoming a CEO? And I suppose I'm asking that question for any people that are involved in IR and corporate development, that if they did want to move into a CEO capacity, hopefully you can give some advice and tips for what they need to do.
Okay, well, definitely I can share my experiences. The role of a CEO, especially for a publicly traded company, is to, with the board, in collaboration with the board, is to, create the strategy and the vision for the company, and then that's on the grand scale. Like, what are we actually trying to do here? Create the strategy, and the CEO is held accountable for that strategy, and then we break that down into annual deliverables and things of that nature. In addition to holding the vision, the strategy for the company and being fully accountable for it, the CEO's next role is to actually raise capital. I mean, that capital is the gas in the vehicle. Without it, you go nowhere. And, it's for us, we have a business model, but it's important to note that the business model is driven by capital. It really is the driver for the business. And in addition to that, it's obviously leading the organization, holding the staff, the executive team accountable to the vision and ensuring they execute. So when we peel it back to my initial days of IR, I really got to know the street. I got to know what investors and also, what corporates are looking for in a company. Why should I invest my hard-earned money into this company? So it helped me hone the vision. And then the corporate dev side, that came out. I was sitting with a portfolio manager on Bay Street in Toronto, and I was with the CEO, but I was leading the presentation, and he said this comment like, Tony's like a mini CEO. And that really prompted us to look at, okay, like, corp dev, what exactly is the difference between IR and corporate development? And it varies from company to company, but corporate development is now you're an officer usually of the company. So you're involved in creating the strategy, influencing the vision, but you're also involved in raising capital, doing joint ventures, or however you want to monetize assets. Because Kamenak and my role, we actually created a subsidiary company that we spun out. We did a landmark deal with the Inuit in Nunavut, and also I was leading the capital raises, so securing lead orders on very like $10 to $20 million financings, and then also we had a team underneath us, meeting with the Nico, the Newmonts, the Barracks of the world. You have to have relationships with these entities because they are, they're sort of the driver for the space in many ways, where it's sort of big fish eats little fish. And if you're trying to find a mine, obviously you're trying to cater as well to the producers, because what is an asset that they want. And all of this has trickled down and also rippled into the generation of our projects. And so what we do that's maybe a bit different is we actually take an early stage project or opportunity and put a mine there, a hypothetical mine, and we say, okay, to run this mine, what kind of grade do you need? What kind of scale do you need? Where are you going to get your power? Where are you going to get your energy? Are the First Nations or Indigenous groups supportive of mining? Do we have our agreements in place? What does metallurgy look like? So we're essentially running a hypothetical mining scenario on sometimes projects that don't necessarily even have drilling. But you need to do that to really flush out, does this project have the merits to take it to this next level? And for say the UK fans out there, if you look at Ronaldo as a soccer player, or Beckham, or Lionel Messi, how do you find that at age 10? There's certain things you look for that say, hey, this has the potential to be the next superstar. And so that's the same thing with these projects. And in addition to this mining scenario, we look at it from, okay, what does a major want from a scale, production, margin perspective? And so for us, we obviously want to focus on things that are 5 million ounce footprints, 5 million ounces of gold footprints. And so all this really started for my initial investment getting burned by mining, right through to taking my education in university. Really came out of, although I did university, but it really came out of my tenure with Kamenak, where I actually got to witness a project going from never drilled before all the way to 5 million ounces, PEA, feasibility study. And then I also got to witness the markets going from, our company's $60 million market cap, 2008 happened, right back down to 5 million, all the way up to 360 million, right back down to 60 million, brought in 3 billionaires, mining icons into the story, to our CEO's credit, as well, because she had some of those relationships. That's Ross Beatty, Lucas Lundin, and then Tom Kaplan. But I got to witness that whole process from truly an organic growth on the capital side, on the project side, initiating conversation with majors. We had about 30 companies at one point under NDA on the asset. So it was really my PhD in exploration that sort of said, okay. I remember one of the founders, some of them, and my esteemed colleagues that are CEOs, they're like, okay, Tony's the CEO for this company. It's time for him to take the baton and run with it. And so they supported me, backed me, and here we are.
That's good. That's a good story and a good lesson. You've had obviously that experience and that exposure to obviously put you in a good position to where you are today, and hopefully eliminate or carry on what you've learned with Tectonic as the CEO, and being responsible and accountable to make that happen.
Yes.
Yeah. So why don't you just tell us about Tectonic for those that may not be aware of the company or may not know too much about what you guys do?
Well, we focus primarily on gold, but we do look at other elements, copper, nickel, things of that nature. But we really fancy gold, and that's where the bulk of the team's strength lies. And for me, I'm an explorationist at heart. I do like advanced stage projects, but I love looking at early stage discovery opportunities. There's quite a big dopamine hit when you make a discovery, and once you get a taste for it, you just keep coming back. And so we've looked at a few different projects. The first project that the company acquired, we still love. But we've kind of churned through some of these projects, and a lot of them came vis-a-vis our native corporation. They are also the largest landowner in Alaska, which is where we're focused. We do look elsewhere, but this is where the projects are situated. So we have a conduit of opportunities that aren't in the public domain. and we snagged this little nugget of a project, and maybe the word nugget, pun intended there, that was sitting in this database of this native corporation and sitting dormant for 20 plus years. And so Tectonic is focused on early stage discovery opportunities and these little hidden gems and partnering with native corporations. So off we went into the data room of this asset. And, I uncovered that we're dealing with the third largest placer mining jurisdiction in all of Alaska. Placer gold is alluvial gold, or gold found in the streams or creeks. That's not where we're actually looking at hard rock exploration, which is different than placer mining. But the fact that it produced 1.4 million ounces of placer gold shedding from these potential deposits, there's multiple deposit potential, got us excited, because again, you're looking for that Ronaldo or that Beckham. 1.4 million ounces in the streams of creeks. It didn't come from the sky. That tells us we're dealing with a lode source that could be potentially very rich and big. And then the next thing that we uncovered was Robert Friedland, mining billionaire and icon and Hall of Famer, drilled this property back in the mid 80s. And anything Robert touches, you want to take note. He was involved in a project called the Fort Knox, which is basically Fairbanks Gold, and he's in the Canadian Hall of Fame because of Fairbanks Gold. But he advanced that towards production, and that's a mine that's produced this 9 million ounces. It's currently owned by Kinross. So they were trying to find another analog to that, but they only had a small portion of the property at that time. But that was a good marker. Then we had 50 plus historical drill holes where every hole hit gold. And that told us, like, wow, okay, this is now, we have some grades, 12 grams over 24, like a gram over 70 meters in drilling. So some really good open mineralization. And then there's also anomalies that haven't even been tested. And then the backdrop for all of this is that it's in the same mineral belt as the fifth largest undeveloped gold deposit in the world that Barrick and Nova Gold own. It's called Donlin. It's 39 million ounces of gold. And what surprised me is that there's no other exploration company in or around us. And so the fact that this mineral belt can produce one deposit of that magnitude, there was just enough boxes ticked to make us sort of jump all in onto this asset. We introduced it to our largest. We had two large shareholders at that time, the Native Corporation and Crescat Capital. And Crescat went from a 10% owner in our company to 20%, just based on this asset and the anticipation of drilling it. And so we just completed our second year of drilling and announced a brand new gold discovery, 6 meters of a gram. 65 meters of 1.2 grams. Within that was 6 meters of 6 grams and 1.5 meters of 21 grams. But the hole ended at 65 meters. So it's completely mineralized from top to bottom and carrying some really high grade gold and completely open. It's a kilometer long target, and we're the first ones to ever drill it. So it is an exciting time. And I think we're finally cracking the code to this gold puzzle at our Flat Gold project. And, this year's drilling campaign, has me sort of as a kid in Christmas morning. I can't wait to get in there again and flush out this new discovery, and also some of the existing drilling that's still wide open in every which direction.
Yeah, so I just wonder if you can just tell us a little bit more about the Flat Gold project, and I suppose explain why it is a compelling asset.
Well, in essence, our marker is, we want something that's at least 5 million ounces or larger. If you look at the drilled strike, we have 3 kilometers of drilled mineralized strike, deepest hole down at 400 meters, 3 Ks. That could potentially represent the size of the deposit, and it's open in every which direction. That Fort Knox mine that I spoke to that produced its 9 millionth ounce, that has 2 kilometers of strike. So it's got scale, and that's just one portion. That doesn't take into account this new discovery. It doesn't take into account some other drilling that we have at other potential deposit areas. This is not a one deposit system. There's potential for 6 of them. So that has us excited. We see scale. Okay, scale's great. The grades got us excited, especially when you look at this project from an open pit heap leach opportunity. That's extremely positive. We did the metallurgy, which, for those that don't know, metallurgy is the ability to extract the gold from the rock, and metallurgy can turn a project from not economic to economic. It is the driver for, it's the biggest contributor to the economics of a project. Anyways, long story short, we did the metallurgy, all positive, and not just positive, like top quartile positive. So we're pumped about that. Our native corporation, this is on their land. They're pumped about that, hence their investments into our company. We have the production agreement, we have the IBA agreement, and we're in the shadow of a nearly fully permitted deposit. It has one permit left to go, and if that they get that permit, obviously, and if the funding's there, you have a 40 million ounce gold system, literally in your backyard going into production. So these are some of the reasons why we're super excited and enthused about the prospects of this project.
Why don't you just tell us about the company's relationship with obviously some of your key partners, such as Doyon, and how they contribute to the project's success?
Essentially, I mean, we've essentially sewn up the stakeholder and the shareholder. So, Doyon is the Alaska Native Regional Corporation. It's a 4-entity corporation, and it's valued at north of $1 billion. This isn't a small mom and pop type of outfit. They have 20,000 shareholders, and so we're predominantly on their land, and that's and again we have the production agreement, but that's important to understand and appreciate, because the permitting process, I believe, is much more efficient and streamlined when you're on native land, because you don't deal with a lot of the regulatory hurdles, but also you have a partner that is supportive of you advancing their project. So that's in essence the sort of the native corporation. Again, they've invested in our company, so they have the royalty. It's their land. We own the mineral rights 100%, but they also are an equity shareholder. So they want to see our share price and our company increase in value, because that's another monetary driver for them. I mentioned Crescat, a very well-known U.S.-based resource firm that is mostly focused on exploration or commodities or natural resource investing, and they're probably the most active resource investor in their space. A lot of their work or their investments is vetted by well-known geologists by the name of Quentin Henning, and they went initially as a 10% owner in our company before we had this asset. They've increased their ownership to 20%, and they continue to invest in our company. So those are the two primary shareholders that support our exploration efforts, and are obviously extremely honored and humbled to have them support us even in the tough times. That's what counts. Having your shareholders step up in a bull market, that's great, but having them step up in a bear market is a true testament to their commitment and conviction behind the company.
On March the 3rd, the company released obviously some significant news. Wondered if you can just walk us through the key takeaways and why this update is obviously important to the company.
Exactly. So we announced our drill results from the 2024 late fall drill season. And the objective of that program was to expand some of the known drilled mineralization and then step into a new area. Now, this new area is called Alpha Bowl. It's a 1.5 kilometer by 500-meter wide target. It's never been drilled in the 40-year history of this property. What made us excited about this target is that it's actually the source for 650,000 ounces of gold that's been recorded, placer gold, from Flat Creek. Also happens to be the name of our project, the Flat Project, named after this prolific placer-producing creek. So you have this creek draining out of this bowl or this area. And so if the gold in the streams and creek is one of the most prolific in Alaska, and the most prolific on our property with 650,000 ounces of recorded gold production, maybe the source could be 10x, who knows, or 20x. We don't know, but this would be a good place to drill to figure out, what that source looks like. The other thing that got us excited is that the gold reported in the Placer Creek that they found when they're placer mining was the I'll quote the historical report, and this report's from the United States Geological Survey and the Department of Natural Resources, so it's a legitimate report. But they observed and wrote that they mined quartz, gaudy, nuggety gold. And you don't have to be a geologist to say, okay, quartz, gaudy. The word gaudy and nuggety implies large. And it varied tremendously from the other placer producing creeks where they reported finer grained oatmeal flake. Think about oatmeal and those quick oats. Think about those little particles floating in the river. And now you got this one producing nuggets, like 10 ounces nugget, like these math. So we're like, okay, that got us excited. Then it also, this target represented the extension of the drilled area. It's a kilometer long extension. And there's a soil anomaly there as well. And then also some geophysics that we did highlighted us that, hey, there could be mineralization here. So we put 5 holes into it, and every hole came back with gold. There were shallow holes, but we got 21 grams, 65 grams, 10 grams, 9 grams. And trying to say, okay, hey, I don't think a lot of people potentially realize just how hard exploration is. So if you have a kilometer long target, well, that's 1,000 meters. Maybe think about 3 track fields, or can't remember how much a soccer field. But if I said, hey Rob, here's the size, it's a 3-inch diameter of your drill hole. Sorry, my water bottle's a little scuffed up, but hey, plot this in a kilometer or 1,000 meters. Pick a spot where to go. Now, our geologists are smart. We know our way around, but we're not that smart in many ways when you're dealing with Mother Nature. So if you can hit gold in a kilometer long target on your first attempt and hit grades as high as that, that tells you the system is huge. There, I remember our Kamenak days, our first drill hole that went into the Coffee Gold project, which we sold for 520 million. That first drill hole came back with 17 grams per ton gold over 15 meters. Now, again, I would say we are smart, but when you plop your first hole and you get that kind of grade and so even that kind of width, you're like, okay, this system is big. And it ended up being 5 million ounces when we sold it, but it's still growing. It's still open. So that was, that tells you, sometimes things take, 10, 20, 30 drill holes to figure it out. But if you can nail it on your first try, you've taken a lot of the risk out of the equation. Now it's a matter of just flushing. Like all you gotta do is not all you have to do, but you have to step out accordingly from that drill and say, okay, is this 1 million ounces? Is it 5? Is it 10 million ounces? And again, it's kilometer wide. Remember the previous area, which is called Chicken Mountain, at flat, we have 2 kilometers of drilled strike, plus now this extension makes 3. So it's already half the size of the other one, or it has the potential half size, I should say.
And how does this obviously announcement and the results that you've just achieved fit into the company's obviously broader strategy for 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, well, it's diverted our attention a bit. Again, this new discovery is an extension of where the current drilling is. There's an 800-meter gap where there's no drilling. So our strategy is going to be kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So flush out the discovery with get some oriented diamond drilling so you can get structural data that can help you effectively target higher grade mineralization. So step out on that discovery and work your way back towards the main area where capital dependent, and depending on a capital and the amount of meters you can drill, you could potentially have a 3-kilometer long mineral resource estimate if you elected to go that route. So our strategy, we intentionally drilled out in this new area. There's probably about another 6 or 7 other targets that haven't been drill tested, but now that we honed in on this, potentially the heart of the system, we want to flush it out and then work our way back to sort of connect the dots.
Obviously, at the time of this recording in obviously March, how do you foresee Trump's administration impacting exploration, development, and sort of mining projects in general in Alaska?
Well, let's just start with the facts. So, as soon as Trump took office, he issued several executive orders. And one of those executive orders involved, essentially, if I were to summarize it, basically we're going to make Alaska our top spot for resource and for resource potential, critical minerals, things of that nature, oil and gas, you name it. So, his goal is to, deregulate, so make projects that are sort of been shelved or haven't moved forward to advance them very quickly. The Trump administration is vocal about sort of homegrown resources and reducing their reliance or their dependency on other countries for their natural resources. So I think that bodes well, politics aside. Ultimately, my perspective is I want the right projects that are, when I say the right projects, projects that, you know, certain projects don't need to become mines, I guess I would say. There is sometimes too much risk or too much environmental hazards that maybe don't justify moving that mine forward. So, not every project needs to be a mine, and hence we try to avoid environmentally sensitive areas. So if the administration can move those projects forward, I'm in favor of that. Obviously, I'm a big believer in the importance of the natural resource to our life and to our economy. Everything we have, including the software here, is driven by metals. And so, people want computers and this and that. Well, mining plays a role in all of that. And so I think it's a wake up call. And it's not just the Trump administration. Other countries are also taking a page out of the US about reducing their dependency and saying, okay, let's look at home here. And I do think mining's having a bit of a renaissance. It was spurred by the sort of electrification of vehicles. And now, yes, there's some trade wars, that are awful, and real, wars, if you will. But it's really everyone's kind of clamoring down, and when I say everyone, all of these countries are clamoring down on sort of, hey, we need our own resources to sustain ourselves, and so mining's going to have its moment in the sun here again, and if vis-a-vis like whatever country, if it's the Trump administration that makes that happen quicker, then that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And have you seen a flurry of activity since obviously Trump announced what he said about Alaska? Have you seen a lot more things happening in Alaska than you have previously?
Yeah, I have. Things are starting to sort of percolate, if you will, but also interest is now like, okay, where do we want to go? And in addition to that, what we're seeing is a lot of the major mining companies moving to politically stable, mining-friendly jurisdictions. If we look at some of the, maybe I don't know if I should, but if we look at, say, Barrick, for example, they went into Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, and they also had this their mine confiscated by the Mali government, and a warrant, no warrant was issued for Barrick CEO's arrest. And that impacts your financial statements and obviously the confidence in your company. And then you have an alternative company such as Agnico Eagle, where their share price has been unfettered and just it's the side of a mountain, essentially, just keeps climbing, and they're more vanilla, and so the market appreciates predictability, reliability, consistency in delivering. And I think that where I'm going with this is that there is a movement by the major mining companies to say, hey, let's take some of the risk off the table and let's start looking at North America and possibly even Alaska as a place to get our future reserves from, because the institutions and the people funding us and our share prices performing well when we keep it vanilla.
Yeah. What are the next steps for the project, and what milestones should investors and stakeholders be watching for?
Yeah, so our next step is we want to drill this discovery off and really expose what it could potentially be. And obviously we have our sight set on a multi-million ounce new area. So in order to do that, we do need more capital. Again, the capital is what drives the vehicle. So we are exploring avenues on how to raise that capital in the least dilutive manner, and to network with potential funding entities on the buy side. And so that we are targeting a drill program this year on this asset that we've been speaking about, and we do have other plans that haven't been formally board approved that may add some additional value. But right now it's raise some capital and execute this exciting drill program to flesh out discovery. That's going to be the key two initiatives for the company going forward here.
And lastly, looking ahead, what excites you the most about the company's obviously potential and the industry as a whole moving forward during 2025 and beyond?
It's a great question, and I'm gonna for the company. What excites me is fleshing out this new discovery and getting a real large, meaningful drill program launched. I definitely believe it's there. We wouldn't be monkeying around if we didn't think it had the goods. And so, Mother Nature can humble you, and it also can surprise you with some pretty juicy tidbits. So, we think we're in a very pivotal, game-changing year for the company. And as far as the industry is concerned, what excites me there is that, if you look at the JDXJ or you look at the gold price, it's actually leading. It's the leading performance, beating the index, if you will. And I'd love our mining space to be a recognized and trusted investment for the buy side. And so I think mining will continue to lead the performance of various stocks, if you will. And so that has me excited. And I do think the majors also, as they share price increases, they're generating more revenue with the higher gold price, which it appears again that could also go higher. But if you're say a Newmont, you're producing roughly 6 million ounces annually. The share price goes from $2,500 US to $3,000. That's a $500 increase that wasn't accounted for 2 years ago. And just if you're producing 6 million ounces, $100 increase is roughly, if your costs stay the same, is roughly 600 million extra capital. So that we're in a very good period where the backdrop is supportive of mining, the gold price is supportive of mining, and the majors are actually performing. And so that's a great place to be and a great foundation for an exciting year ahead as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Tony, thank you for your time. Appreciate you giving us an update on Tectonic and your project and what you're doing, and obviously give us an update what's happening in Alaska. And hopefully you'll be able to come on the podcast next year, or sorry, later this year or even next year, not leave it for another 3 years, and give us an update.
I would love that. And I can tell you all about our fantastic drill results by the end of the year, hopefully.
Yeah, great. If our audience wants to reach out to you, obviously follow the story, how can they contact you? How can they receive obviously updates and follow the project?
Yeah, info, or so a couple different avenues. The company, if you want to subscribe to the email list, we have a sign up page on our website, tectonicmetals.com. Emails info@tectonicmetals.com. And then we have a company social media sites such as LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and then also myself, I'm active on LinkedIn as well. So those are great platforms to communicate and share industry news and things of that nature. And we love talking to mining people, or people in general, to be perfectly honest. But we encourage everyone to reach out if any interest.
Yeah, great. Well, appreciate your time, Tony. All those media channels will be in the show notes for easy access. So thank you again. We will speak soon, and all the best for 2025.
And I wish that to you as well. Thank you for having me again, Rob.
No worries. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed that episode. As always, appreciate your continued support. Please keep sharing these episodes far and wide, not just always sharing these episodes with people in the mining industry, but also sharing these episodes to people outside of our mining industry, especially obviously across North America. Tony's alluded to obviously Alaska. So we should be sharing these episodes across North America, but also globally to, I suppose, bring more awareness and branding of our industry. So people outside of mining can really get to understand what mining is all about, and it is needed for humanity and for us to grow humanity and develop, like Tony alluded to, having computers and phones all come from a mine. So really appreciate you sharing these episodes to educate the global mining industry, but people outside of our industry as well. Well, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed that episode. And until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes, and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.